I was born and raised in Denmark. My schooling was interrupted when I was arrested in 1943.
I was born in the village of Knishin in Poland in 1941, and I'm what is known as a hidden child of the Holocaust.
I knew that the Germans had occupied Denmark because I would see the soldiers stamping their feet on the pavement, and they would be in motorbikes when I would bicycle to school.
The Nazis invaded November of '42. At that time I was a year old, and both of my parents were murdered right around the time of my first birthday. This is a story I didn't know, but I was told it when I visited Poland. The woman was explaining to me that she was looking out the window of her house, and what she saw was a young woman carrying a baby, but she was carrying the baby not over her shoulder or cradled in her arms the way people typically carry babies, but down low by her hips. At the end of the block, there were a couple soldiers. So she knew immediately this was a Jewish mother who was hoping that the soldiers didn't see her. She saw the woman, my mother, put me down on the ground behind a bush and then changed the direction she was walking drastically. And that was the last time I saw my mother.
I was 8 years old at the time. I didn't understand why they came to our apartment and not to somebody else's. But I didn't know we were Jewish. I had not been brought up in the Jewish faith.
I was taken to the police department. There was a man standing in a corner of the room. I reached my arms out, which means pick me up, carry me. And he took me in his arms. He said to his friends, "I'm taking this baby home. Don't tell anyone what I'm doing."
We ended up in a concentration camp by the name of Narration. It was very, very difficult, especially in the beginning. And I didn't quite understand what was going on. I was there with my mother and father, and we didn't get very much to eat. That's probably an understatement. And he passed away from starvation.
Every so often, someone would come into the window of my bedroom at night, but it was my uncle Akiva. And he would bring me a treat, and it was just a matter of fact of my life.
We had been in the camp for 18 months. 2 days before we were liberated, we were told about it. We didn't believe it. We'd been there so long. And finally, the white Red Cross buses rolled up, and we got a warm, warm welcome.
One night I was asleep, and there was a loud pounding at the door, and there was a lot of screaming and crying and yelling. And the next thing I knew, some guy came in and grabbed me right out of the bed and ran out the front door with me. I could see under the brim of this uniform, and this was the man who had brought me fruit. This was my uncle. He brought me to the United States.
It was very difficult because we had a family of 3, including my father, and I was a family of 2. Right after the war, my mother and I didn't speak much about it. She wanted to look ahead and not back.
I think it was 1987. There was the first American gathering of Holocaust survivors in Washington, D.C. They were showing newsreels of the Nazis and the marching and the Heil Hitler thing. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I had a sense of peace about the Holocaust. There's Hitler, and he's long dead and buried, and look at this arena where everyone in it is Jewish, and right across the aisle from me was a young couple with a baby in a stroller.
There's an increased anti-Semitism. There's a denial of the Holocaust, which is absurd.
There is no possibility of not understanding that it really happened.
We are no longer here. The next generation needs to talk about it. You have to be tenacious. My mother was very, very tenacious, and she was often asked, did you ever give up? And she said, no, you can't do that. So I think hang in there and work hard and don't give up.